Alright, so I had this video planned for a while, and then I released my silver video the other day, and a lot of you seem to really like that video, so thank you so much for the support on that, and I've decided to incorporate some of that into this video today. Hello everybody, I'm OCDsaster, and this is OCDsaster Blue, my Sonic exclusive channel where everything we do here is Sonic related. So if that sounds like something your speed, consider checking out some other videos after this one and subscribing. Now the video I'm talking about is my Silver the Hedgehog video and how he's always done dirty. That was the previous video I discussed based off of the newest crosstalk in which Jet and Wave discuss Blaze and Silver. In today's video, I wanted to talk about the story mode in Sonic Racing CrossWorlds. The fact that there isn't one, and what I think a story could be, and what they could have done if they had the time. Now, we aren't getting a story mode in Sonic Racing CrossWorlds, unfortunately, but I can understand why we're not. You see, Sonic Team and Sega wanted to focus on the core gameplay mechanics and the multiplayer experience, make sure the servers were good and that the game was playable and very, very fun, and that the travel rings, the teleporting to different tracks worked seamlessly. And that's going to take a lot of time and a lot of development, and if you were to have a full single player experience and story mode, you would have to focus a third, maybe even 2/3 of the development time on that, and that would have taken away from ironing out all of the details and all the intricacies for those other features in the game. So I would much rather have a fun, replayable gaming experience with no story than having a story and only an okay racing experience. Now, just to say that there's no story is false, because there is a underlying story with this game. There's just no story mode to play a story. And by this I mean you have Danampa, who is kind of the announcer of these races and these tournaments, and he will pop up occasionally and tell you about events that are going down and tell you when Grand Prix and, you know, all these things are happening. And it's sort of like a Splatoon sort of thing, where when you log on you have some updates from the announcers. That's what Danampa is in this game, and I like that it's him instead of Amachow. We get Amachow a lot in the announcer roles, so I think that's good. But that's basically the only real story beats that we get per se. Personally, I love story modes in my racing games. Sonic Riders is a big example of that. I love replaying the Hero and Babylon story, but even games such as Crash Team Racing, where you had a very amateur-like story, but a mode where you could literally race in a hub world to go to different tracks. I just loved it as a kid and still do love it to this very day, and kind of want to incorporate that into this what-if scenario, an alternate universe. Let's say we go into a travel ring to a place where Sonic Racing CrossWorlds does have a story mode. What would that look like? Now, it could be very generic, right? We could just do the easy way that a lot of these racing games do. Some intergalactic threat comes down and forces all of the racers to race, and then there's some, you know, chaos that ensues. Dr. Eggman's actually behind it the whole time, blah, 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 blah. We've seen that so much. I think I have a story for Sonic Racing CrossWorlds that would be unique, interesting, and put some spotlight on a character that we all have pretty much agreed in the comment section of the last video deserves more love, and that's actually Silver the Hedgehog. The Babylon rogues stumble across an ancient relic known as a travel ring and realize that the travel ring allows you to go into other dimensions. The catch: you need to be super fast in order to go through it, and it needs a lot of power in order to sustain the portals staying open, meaning you need to have at least 12 racers running through at a time, otherwise you're stuck in the other dimension that you're in. But the Babylon rogues are trying to find treasure in each of these dimensions, so they come up with an idea to convince Dr. Eggman to run another Grand Prix. Dr. Eggman is reluctant, even with the Babylon rogues bribing him with a third of the treasure that they find. However, when his pseudo-daughter Sage says that she's never been in a race before, Dr. Eggman crumbles and decides to put this on with his money. However, he says this time he wants a different person to run the race so he can actually get in on the action himself. So he hands it over to Dananpa. Sonic and his friends actually deny the initial invitation, seeing that it could be a potential trap like all the times before. However, Jet shows up and basically just taunts Sonic into joining, because Sonic just, he's Sonic, he's competitive, he wants to just go in and race and beat Jet. Sonic and Jet confronting each other in person, and Sonic accepting the invitation in front of Silver gives Silver a psychic vision into the near future, in which he sees utter destruction and all of the dimensions kind of imploding on themselves. Silver wants to say something, but he knows Sonic will not listen if that means he cannot race and prove himself to Jet. So essentially you get your 3 story modes. You get the hero mode, the Babylon mode, and then the third mode, the silver mode or future mode. So essentially what's going to happen is you have your regular fare of Grand Prix races with Sonic Team. You play as Sonic, Knuckles, Tails, maybe even Amy, those guys. Then once you're done racing and you win, you go over to Babylon and get their side of the story, Wave, Storm, Jet, and we could probably throw in some other characters. Maybe they're actually working with Dr. Eggman and Sage this time, we'll see. You could fill out more of those characters, but then the third mode is the future mode. You see, while Sonic and the Babylons are doing their regular racing fare, they don't know that there's actually a bigger looming threat in the extra dimensions that's trying to get everyone trapped. And I don't know what this being is, this entity is. It's something that's similar to like the Time Eater, except it's more of like a warping sort of situation, and only Silver really knows how to handle this. So he goes with Blaze and Metal Sonic, and they have to do this whole separate thing. While everyone else is racing, they're racing against these extra parallel dimension shadows of the Sonic roster. So essentially these courses, these racetracks will be against these alternate versions of the Sonic roster, and all the courses are essentially mirrored and more like shadowy and dark, as Team Hero is racing to beat the Babylon Rogues, and the Babylon Rogues are also trying to beat the Hero Team and find treasure in the different dimensions. Silver, Blaze, Metal Sonic, they're all on the other side of the parallel dimension, trying to keep everything going so that way our heroes don't get stuck in another dimension. So they're racing and weakening this other being that's trying to suck up all the dimensions and just end everything. And so that's all going on till the very end, the final story, where all 3 storylines come together. They all team up to take out this entity, and they realize that Silver, Blaze, Metal Sonic, they've all been working on the sidelines to keep the very fabrics of time together, or the fabrics of dimensions, because we already did time with Sonic Generations. And that is essentially my very loose story for Sonic Racing CrossWorlds. I wanted to make sure that the travel rings were the main focus, that dimension hopping was a thing, because Blaze is from a different dimension and Silver has his dimensional lore and, controversial backstory with, the Iblis Trigger and the future and time travel. I thought they would be the best pair, along with Metal Sonic. We could throw in some other people as well if we wanted to go and do this extra side sort of quest while we're focusing on the race to make everything kind of more cohesive, because we've never really seen travel rings before, and I feel like there would be some sort of dimensional consequence for constantly just ripping through these dimensions and breaking through the fabrics of reality. So I just kind of wanted to play along with that. I know it's still kind of like a loose story, but it doesn't need to be super buttoned up in the context of a Sonic racing game or a racing game in general. There are, of course, be cutscenes in between each track and each race. The rivalries would just seamlessly work within the story mode because we already have those mechanics set up. And I think it would just be a really cool and fun way to have a story mode in Sonic Racing CrossWorlds. But that's just my own fantasy world and dream. What did you guys think? Did this story speak out to you? Was it bad? Was it good? Was it just okay? I'd love to hear all your honest thoughts and feedbacks down in the comments below. Let me know your ideas for a Sonic story for Sonic Racing CrossWorlds. Are you happy that we don't have one and they're focusing all on multiplayer? Are you a little bit upset? Let me know all your thoughts and comments down below. I'm OCDsaster, and I hope you have a super Sonic rest of your day. See ya.